Hey folks, Denethar here. I wasn't going to do a video on this. I was going to save this for a podcast in a few weeks, but after Bellular posted this video right here, I felt like I had to say something. So if you want to watch his video, it's actually really well done. He's got a great team working with him, and he produces a lot of really quality content. So what I wanted to talk about was my solution to this whole idea of, is Mythic Plus broken? And I think that there's a lot more nuance to it than just, oh, Mythic Plus is too hard and people don't like Mythic Plus and the groups are toxic. Yeah, okay. At a high level, that is true. But there's a lot more depth that goes into it, and Blizzard has really exacerbated the problem by two decisions that were made recently and by a couple of other things. But really, let's just dive right into it. Mythic Plus is way harder than it used to be. So in Dragonflight Season 4, if you'll recall, we changed the way that we didn't change it, Blizzard changed it. Blizzard changed the way that Mythic Plus works. So instead of starting at 2 and going up through 20 to get gear, and then the system will continue beyond that, Mythic Plus starts at, they shifted the scale. So a 2 is now about equivalent to an 11, and it goes up from there. So instead of having some easy Mythic Plus to learn the way the system works, to learn the affixes, things like that, players are thrust right into more difficult content. And it's not hard. Even now, a 2 or a 3 isn't hard content, but it does scale up more quickly, and it is a lot less forgiving than the old style 2 and 3 and 4 were. One of the big problems now is that there's no ramp up. So anybody who wants to participate in the Mythic Plus system, even at the lowest level, you're jumping right into difficult content. You're jumping right into, you have to have everything just right in order to succeed. So that's another big problem that Mythic Plus is dealing with right now. It requires really close group coordination. And that's not a problem necessarily. I think that's a good thing for Mythic Plus to have that group coordination, but it's done in such a way that it is almost required to succeed for Mythic Plus. So kicks, stops, defensives, group buffs, cooldowns, all of this stuff. If you don't use it correctly, you're not timing your key. Especially once you go above like a 7 with the new Challenger's Peril affix. The other issue that has come up recently is delves. Now, delves are a problem, and this is where the Bellular video comes in, because a lot of the blame gets laid at the feet of delves. Delves give really good gear, way better than they have any business to. I would say if you had to find an equivalent difficulty for a delve tier 8, it's about as hard as a 2 or 3 keystone, but it gives loot that's about equal to a 6 or a 7. So what happens is people say, well, I want to get better loot than what I got in my delve, so I need to do a 7 or an 8. So people who have no idea how to do this, see the previous item on the list, the group coordination, are going into Mythic Plus thinking that they can go through the content the same way that they went through delves, and that is absolutely not the case. So and there's a couple of other things with delves. First of all, delves are not endlessly pushable. So you can do a delve, and if you do Mythic Plus, you can just keep going. And the only thing you're limited by is your ability to do enough damage to kill the boss before you die. That's really it. Do you have your cooldowns in the right place? Are you able to avoid all the mechanics that you need to avoid? That sort of thing. With delves, it stops at 11. That's it. You're not going any higher than that. You can't test your skill in any way. And the final issue, of course, and this is why we're here, is that there's no rating for delves. So delves were introduced as an endgame pillar of World of Warcraft, equivalent to dungeons and arena. Obviously, everybody is subservient to the almighty rating tier, but those are your 4 endgame pillars. You have your PvP, rated dungeons, raid, and now delves. So obviously, raid doesn't have a rating system. It's just the number of bosses that you've killed. Oh, I'm 4 of 8 heroic. Okay, great. Everybody knows what that means. I'm 1 of 8 mythic and 7 of 8 heroic. Okay, cool. So you can't kill Ansarek, but you were able to kill the first boss of mythic. That's good too. It's clear how far you've progressed in the system when you tell people how many bosses you've killed. That's it. It's super straightforward. And rating is the prestige content in WoW. It's mythic rating especially. That's That's the content that Blizzard has focused on as this is the best content that we're going to produce in this game. Now, raids aren't always the best, but that's kind of Blizzard's take on it, is that that's the best content, and everything else is below that in terms of the end game pillars and how tall those pillars are. So we have the two PvE end game pillars that existed previously, which were rated PvP, arenas, battlegrounds, rated battlegrounds, solo shuffle, arena skirmishes, all this sorts of things. And then you have, of course, the Mythic Plus system. Both of those have rating systems attached to them. So for PvP, your rating is based on your current rating, your team's rating, your opponent's rating, and then there's a calculation that happens behind the scenes, and your score will either go up or down depending on whether or not you win or lose. Dungeons, it's even simpler. It's based on your keystone level and how fast you beat the timer. If it's 1-star, 2-star, or 3-star, you're going to get a different score. All right, so what do we need to do to fix this? Well, I have a couple of solutions that I'm willing to put out there. I don't know anything about game development. I don't know anything about how all of this stuff works internally with Blizzard. All I know is I like to look at numbers, I like to look at data, and I like to use that to draw some conclusions. Whether or not they're good or bad conclusions, I'll leave it up to you. And if you don't like what I'm suggesting, please flame me in the comments, because I'm really just literally throwing this out at the last minute. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I haven't vetted this by anyone. This is just an idea that I had, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to put out a video, and if you don't like it, that's okay. I'm used to I'm used to putting out content and not being liked for it. So, all right. First off, Blizzard needs to make the Delve API available. And what I mean by that is, right now you can see how many dungeons you've run, how many keystones, whatever you've done, what raids you've done. You have a record of those things. PvP is a little bit different because it's player versus player, so that's harder to do, but you could still keep track of that sort of thing. There's nothing like that for delves. You can't even look to see what tier of delves you've completed. You can just see if you've got a certain level of reward in your Great Vault. That's all you can do. We need to be able to track. I ran Myomancer Cavern at 7 and I ran Fungal Folly at 8. Okay, how is that so difficult? So if Blizzard can make this available to us and they don't want to develop a rating system, that's fine. The community will develop one. That's what Raider.io did years ago, and Blizzard eventually adopted it. For better or for worse, I don't know, but that's what happened. So if Blizzard wants to put out their own API for delves, I think that that's something that needs to happen. It will help add-on developers. It would help this particular issue. All around, it would be a good thing. And I don't think that that's a controversial take or a particularly new or fresh take. I think a lot of people have already said that, but it does need to be said again in this context. Okay. If they did develop a rating, my suggestion would be to keep it super simple. Let's go really basic. You have 12 delves. So your rating is 25 points per delve per level for the 10 highest delves that you've done. That's it. So if you do 10 delves at tier 8, your rating is going to be 2,000. Done. Easy. That's solved. And that way, Blizzard can add as many delves as they want, and only 10 of them are going to count towards your ultimate rating. And I think that's fine. Maybe there's a better way to do that. I don't know, but I'm trying to keep it really simple because delves are the casual endgame pillar. And as such, it should be kept really simple. As far as Mythic Plus goes, there's a few things that need to happen. Oh, this is going to be a very controversial thing. Okay. So one of the things that I really like about delves is that you can run a delve, any delve that you want, as many times as you want, at any score that you want, as long as you've done the previous level of delve. So if you want to run an 8, you have to have done a 7, etc. You don't have to have a key to run a delve either. You could just go in there and run it. You won't get any loot, but you'll get crests, and with this system, you'd get rating. I'm proposing that we do the same thing with Mythic Plus. Let players run any Mythic Plus that they want. Let them run a plus 10 Grim Batol if that's what they really want to do. But unless you have the keystone for it, you're not getting loot. You will get your crests, you'll get your Great Vault, and you'll get your rating, but you won't get loot. So you can't go farm something that you don't have the keystone for. But if you want to just go and grind gilded crests, you could do that. If you want to just fill up your Great Vault and you don't feel like running Grimbatol, you could just run Misatyrna Scythe 8 times. That way, players will know that they're able to just grind out the system and practice in any way that they want. Now, you'd have to tweak the user interface a little bit so that when somebody puts up a looking for group, it can say, this group has a keystone or this group doesn't have a keystone. And maybe if no one in your party has a particular keystone that you're putting up the group for, it won't let you check the box. Something like that. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a developer. This is just a suggestion that I had and a thought that kind of popped into my head. So let people run any keystone they want at any point, at any level, as long as they have done the tier previous. Someone in the group has done the tier previous. So if you've got your banger friend from a Mythic raiding guild who's done 12s, you could go in there and run 13s if you want. You might not time them, but you could run them, whether or not you have a keystone. Now, you're not going to get loot unless you have the keystone, but yeah, you can go run those. Okay, so the other change is I'm suggesting that you should have an option to run a keystone with the mob counter and the affixes, but no timer. If you do no timer, you get no rating. That way, people can practice their Mythic Plus runs, especially when you're learning the system, no pressure of the timer. Because even if you say, hey, no pressure, we just want to complete, it still feels bad when you don't make the timer. So if you turn the timer off, it eliminates that completely, and that stress just goes away. You want to practice 5s, but you don't want the timer to make you nervous? Don't worry about it. Just get in there and run your 5s, and you're all good. So with all that being said, that would remove completely key depletion from the Mythic Plus system. There's no, if you don't need keystones to run a dungeon, then if keystones are only if keystones are only used for loot, there's no reason to deplete them. So let's get rid of depletion completely. If you want to, you can say having the keystone gives you an extra 5 crests. So you go, okay, if you don't have a keystone, you get 10 crests. If you have the keystone, you get 15 crests. That way, you can grind out as many as you want, but you're going to get a little bit less than you would if you have the keystone. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a game developer, but it's a suggestion. It's an idea, something that we can build on, something that we can work towards to help improve this system. And finally, I would say, let's clean up the reward structure between Mythic Plus and Delves. Right now, it's all over the place, where some have a huge gap in between them. You have dead tiers where there's no reason to run some of these dungeons or some of these keystone levels. Nobody's running a tier 4 delve. Nobody's running a tier 5 delve. It's pointless. Let's clean some of this up. Let's make it useful. Let's make it usable for people. Let's give people something that they can actually do with this system. All right, a couple of caveats here. I want to be very careful in suggesting a rating system for delves, because the only thing that delves currently have as a hurdle is the time, or the death counter. There's no timer. The death counter for delves is something that, yeah, okay, so if you die enough times, you're not going to complete the delve. And I guess if you die too many times, then your delve isn't going to give you any rating or something. I don't know. Again, like I said, I'm not sure the best way to do that. If I had to say, I would say, I don't care if you die 20 times. If you finish the delve, you get your 25 points. But that's just me. Let's have no timers. Let's have no mob counters like in Mythic Plus. And let's have no objectives unless they are part of the delve story. I don't want to have to get a certain number of treasures or click a certain number of abilities, or let's not turn it into Torghast, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it needs to be simple. Let's make it simple and elegant, and that's it. That's the whole thing. That's all we need to do. Ultimately, we need a way to keep Mythic Plus competitive at a high level and accessible at a low level. And if we can do that and have delves be something that exists alongside of Mythic Plus, I don't think delves should be a feeder for Mythic Plus. I think delves should be something that will work in a coordination with Mythic Plus. That's what I think. So, all right, that's it. That's my idea. Thanks for watching. If you are not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to this video and give it a like. That would really help me out. But But yeah, that's it. So until next time, take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.